Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for February 6, 2018. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome and thank you for joining us this evening. We're going to begin with a couple announcements and proclamations, and we'll begin with a proclamation. And most of the proclamations we read are moving and are representative of an accomplishment or a deed, or even if you're a Boy Scout, getting your Eagle Scout. This proclamation that I'm about to read is probably the most difficult one that I have ever done since being on this board, being a part of this board, and it is to recognize an individual who passed recently, Stephanie Mercandetti, who worked in this town as our economic development director before leaving, and someone that I know I speak for this board and I know I speak for everybody at Town Hall, was one of the most priceless individuals on the planet, and it was such a loss. Everyone Stephanie came in contact with, she made a better person. She was the most giving and loving individual that I have ever met associated with a town, and one of the people that in my life that I have met that just would bring sunshine to people's lives, and it was a horrible loss. So with that as backdrop, I would like to read the following. Whereas we mourn the loss of Stephanie, an honest, kind, and caring friend and co-worker who treated everyone with respect. She exemplified a great dedication and love of her work in Walpole, Medway, Framingham, and the county of Norfolk. And whereas Stephanie worked for the town of Walpole from 2008 to 2014 as our economic development officer, and during that time her professionalism and her passion for her responsibilities were obvious, as she was always willing to assist residents, developers, business owners, and staff with planning and zoning issues with a pleasant, positive attitude. And whereas Stephanie started Walpole's first farmers market, which was attended by hundreds of residents, and it continues faithfully to flourish today. And whereas Stephanie was instrumental in helping several businesses in town thrive, and they continue to do so with the knowledge and assistance she shared with them. And whereas Stephanie was dedicated to the community she worked in and was valued by everyone she came in contact with. Now therefore, we, the Walpole Board of Selectmen, express our deepest sympathy for the loss of such a truly incredible, passionate person, and she will be sorely missed.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I would like to have a moment of silence. Thank you. Two other moments of silence, and we'll do these individually. The first is for Alan Falconer. Alan passed away on January 12th, 2018. He was raised in Walpole. He worked for the Recreation Department, and he was a custodian for the schools, and then became the first custodian for the current town hall. He also worked for the Water Department, and then became the septic facility operator. Alan was in the town for many, many years and retired from town in 2003, and I'd ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. And finally, a moment of silence for Police Lieutenant William Fitzgibbons. William Fitzgibbons passed away on January 27th, 2018. He raised his family in Walpole and worked for the Walpole Police Department as a patrolman, and worked his way up to become sergeant, and then in 1993 he became lieutenant. He retired from the town of Walpole in 2001, and enjoyed woodworking, traveling, and gardening, and really enjoyed his retirement. So with that, let's please take a moment of silence to remember Police Lieutenant William Fitzgibbons. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into tonight's agenda. We are honored to have Senator Paul Feeney with us this evening. The senator was sworn in November 1st, and he has replaced Senator Jim Timilty and is the head of our legislative delegation. And we are one of the towns that he represents, and it's with great privilege that we have you here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity to come in tonight, formalize introductions. I know we've had some communication over the last couple of months. As the chairman said, I got sworn in November 1st. Certainly big shoes to fill with Senator Timilty, who's moved on to the treasurer's job. But we've had some interesting times in the state Senate, to say the least, over the last few months. But we have a lot of work to do as well. And as we get back into session just this past month, I wanted to make sure that I came out and communicated with the board, made sure that you knew how to get in touch with me, to let you know that you can get me 24/7, and obviously to the town administrator to work with our office on a daily basis, if need be, to make sure that we're being responsive to the needs of the community. I will say, Mr. Chairman, it was a moving proclamation on Stephanie Mercandetti, and although I didn't know her, the Senate did adjourn in her memory because of the work she's done, her full career in public service just last week. So it was moving, and I appreciate those words. So I just wanted to give kind of a quick update. I got sworn in November 1st to represent the Bristol and Norfolk district, which includes the entire community of Walpole. Starts up in Medfield and goes all the way down to Seekonk and Rehoboth. So it's a really unique district, about 150, 160,000 people. But certainly Walpole, being right here in the heart of the district, and a lot of kind of unique needs, I want to make sure that we're being responsive to that in the state Senate. Just as a quick update, we've been in touch with the town administrator and others in the community on a capital bond bill that we're going to be voting on this week, to make sure that any items that Walpole had, for any capital items, that we would include those into the Senate version. Bond bills are funny, sometimes they're not guaranteed appropriations, but certainly we're going to do our level best to make sure that we get Walpole's needs through the Senate Ways and Means process, and hopefully in our final version that we'll then give to the governor. So that's happening this week. I'll continually provide updates on that. There are a few Walpole amendments that I filed before the deadline yesterday, so we'll keep an eye on those. I'm told that we could have a transportation bond bill in the next couple of months, which is, obviously there's a few things we want to look at that in regards to Walpole. Could be a housing bond bill as well in the next couple of months, and then of course the budget, which is always, always an interesting time in the Senate. Sometimes when you look at revenues and you try to figure out where we are, the good news is, and I had said this to a meeting the other day with some of the school committee folks, the good news is that revenue is trending upwards in the Commonwealth. However, we're couching that with the fact that we don't know if that's simply because a lot of people actually went and paid their local taxes at the end of the year to try and avoid any of the changes that are coming with the federal tax bill. So still not too sure. There was a revenue consensus hearing last month. There was some optimism, but we're still not completely sure on that. The Senate and the House met today. Their Ways and Means committees met today to try and assemble the budget to take the first step. So obviously we'll be communicating that with the board, with the town administrator, with your school department as well, just to make sure that we're on top of it and know exactly what to expect here in Walpole. The town administrator has been very responsive to us so far, and will continue to do that. One of the things that I will say is, when I got elected into the state Senate, I've been in the private sector for 20 years and never had any ambition to be called state senator, and knew that when you get into a job like this, you check the politics at the town line and you got to fight for the things in the community. And with that, you know, in order to be able to do that, you have to be available. I had a mentor of mine for years who always said, look, Paul, it's not always about your ability or your inability, it's about your availability. And that's how I intend to serve. I know Senator Timothy did that, he was available. We'll continue to do that here in Walpole. Within the first month, we had office hours in all 9 of our communities, including here in Walpole. We'll continue to do that. We have another set of office hours coming up this month. We'll advertise that. And anybody that needs anything, any constituent, can certainly reach out to our office. We have the same number that Senator Timothy did for years at 722-1222, 617-722-1222. I can be reached by email at paul.feeney@masenate.gov. It's paul.feeney@masenate.gov. And of course, you can always find me on Facebook and Twitter and all that. So again, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity. I'm blessed to represent Walpole. We're going to be working hard to make sure that we're responsive to the needs of Walpole, to the schools. I know we get some transportation issues that we got to work on. But as I said to you earlier and to others in the community, please don't hesitate to reach out 24/7. Each of you should have my cell phone number. If you don't, you will have it. And reach out at any time, any moment. I live just over the border on North Street in Foxborough. You can knock on my door if you're ever over on that side of Route 1. But we want to make sure that we're being responsive to everything the community needs.
Well, we appreciate it. One question for you.
Sure.
Of the 9 communities you represent, which one is the most important?
If we can shut the cable TV off for a second, I'll tell you that it's Walpole.
No, I mean, even in your short tenure, you've been very accessible to me and to the board and to our town administrator. And as you and I have spoken about, just keep Walpole in the forefront and represent us well. You know, it's there's a couple pet peeves of mine with the delegation, and just the best thing is just to do the best you can for this town. And I know we joked, and there's 8 other communities, but for us and, you know, the service that we're providing for this town, we want to make sure that Walpole remains special in your heart and in your desire to satisfy.
Of course, I'll tell you, I sat on the Board of Selectmen in my own community, and I know how difficult it can be to kind of manage everything sometimes, and you need a partner in state government. Yep. You're uniquely positioned here in Walpole. We have 4 state reps. Mm-hmm. I know some people aren't a fan of that. I will tell you that I work great along with each of them. The first week that I got sworn in, they called and they said, hey, look, let's get together and talk about Walpole.
Good.
And we do that on a regular basis.
And if there's things we can do for you, just ask, work through Jim or any one of us, and we'll do our best. So,
great. Thank
any
you.
questions? Any comments?
Good. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
David?
I'd just like to say, you know, I've gone to some of these seminars for selectmen, and one of the things they talk about is having a close relationship with your delegation. And I found that interesting because I knew that here in Walpole, we've always been very communicated well with our delegation, and I was surprised that other people had to be told to do that.
Sure.
And I'm sure that being a former selectman, that we will work together well, and I appreciate. And give us a heads up when you see something up there that we ought to be getting riled about or paying attention to, for sure.
Now, have you also gotten to know the other boards in our town, school committee and finance committee? And
Yep, we've been reaching out. I met with members of the school committee recently, finance committee, RTM members. Mm-hmm. You know, we get a lot of calls on a daily basis to the office from folks that are involved in local government, and we're doing outreach as well. So,
terrific.
Yeah, we'll sit down with anybody that wants us to come here. Honestly, it's you know, 7-day-a-week job for me. So,
Got it.
Just as far as the train goes.
Yes.
In South Walpole, one thing I wanted to mention that our at-grade crossing is a huge concern.
Yep.
You know, kids, it's within walking distance, kids that can walk to school, in elementary school. And as far as we are concerned in Walpole and South Walpole, it's not appropriate, it's not safe. You know, I know it's just a pilot, but when and if there should, knowing that we could put it underground and knowing that it could potentially save a life at some point, it shouldn't even be a question.
Agreed. You know, and we talk a lot about economic development and transportation infrastructure. If you're not addressing safety, you're not doing your job, and that should end any project right there. So You have a fan in me to do that. I will champion those safety issues and mitigation as much as I can.
Thank you. Thanks.
Great. Mark?
No, I'd just say thanks. Last Friday, you attended it was a meeting at Walpole High School with,
Right.
sponsored by the school committee. Selectman Ragosta was there, some FinCom members. It was good. It was good to be able to talk about the town, some of the town budget needs, especially as they relate to schools, as you're jumping into the budget cycle. So appreciate you and all the other members of the delegation being there. And I thought it was a good conversation, and will help you sort of understand where we're coming from. And by the same token, I think you all shared some of your thoughts with us, which is very helpful as well. So thank you.
Yeah, no, it works both ways, and especially when we're talking about things like the special education circuit breaker, and that's a big chunk of change to a community like Walpole to be able to serve the students that need that. And I think Walpole was the first community in my district that reached out to us and sent a letter and said, hey, we have to do something about this. So we did. We sent on to a letter. I spoke with my colleagues in the Senate. Hopefully we'll have something soon. I know there's a supplemental budget coming out later this month. So hopefully that'll begin to address it. But you people that are in these seats every week, every day, on the ground, you know the community's needs more than anybody. And I just want to reiterate: reach out to us, let us know, and I will champion anything that you guys need. You just let us know, and we'll be there.
Great, thank you.
Ann, you good?
Yes, well, and we also met last Friday. And I was pleased to see the camaraderie and collegiality between among the four reps, and we're uniquely
Great.
fortunate to have 4 reps. And I hope, as the board was saying, with our concerns, when we speak to you, I assume we're also speaking to the other 4 directly,
Yep.
which is great. So we're very lucky indeed.
Yeah, we talk every day, and we send emails and phone calls and text messages, and if you get one of us, you'll be able to reach the rest of us. So we'll continue to do that.
Thanks.
Well, on behalf of our board, welcome.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
we
Chairman.
look forward to working with you, and best of luck.
Likewise. Thank you so much. Thank
Cheers.
you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Before we get into the 7:10, I was remiss in not mentioning one other thing during announcements, and that is our assistant town administrator, Tom Gregory, is leaving, and he's accepted a position as the town administrator in the town of Spencer. Bittersweet. We wish Tom all the success in the world. He came in here. He had very tough shoes to fill because he was filling the assistant town administrator Jim Johnson's shoes when Jim was promoted to town administrator, and he's done a really good job. And bittersweet, he should progress and become a town administrator, but it's definitely our loss. And on behalf of the board, I want to just thank him for his service and wish him the best of luck. So, with that, we're going to go to a riveting presentation by our town clerk on apportionment. Liz?
Good evening to the board. It's that time of year that we need to discuss annually, according to our charter, the apportionment of the RTMs in the 8 precincts. So I was doing a little bit of fact-finding through the month of January just to see how the population was going. As it turns out, as of February 2nd, because through the charter it's between the 1st and the 15th of February that we're to look at these figures, it looks like we've had a population shift in precincts 7 and 8. Enough to that when I do the math, it warrants just, fits 18 in precinct 8 and 19 in precinct 7, where they were both, where it was the opposite last year, 18 and 7 and 19 and 8. So that's going to change the dynamics for, the seats that will be up for the current incumbents that hold it. It would change what I have currently. So we would go for 8 seats would be up in precinct 7, and we would change from 7 to 6 in precinct 8. So that's where we are. I can help you with it if you have any questions.
Just have a
Yeah,
question.
please.
So the source, the population or the total inhabitants in town, what was your source for the
Okay, so that's the
25,150?
residents by ward and precinct, which is a state report that I can access. And that does include all the residents, children, and prisoners.
And this, do you know, that would be great to get, I'd like to get that report, or at least if you can point me to it. What report, what's the name of the report?
Did I give that to you? No, I didn't give it to
I
you.
don't see it.
No, it's
No.
not.
Yep, I can either give you the one I have in my hands, or I can certainly, if you want to stop by the office, I'll just print it out for you
Sure.
tonight. It's always a moving target, so because I needed to have this in it and before you for tonight, the figures that I used are from February 2nd.
Yep.
I had a total resident population of 24,600, but I do need to add the average of the prisoners, which is 550. So that gives me a population of 25,150 to do the math with. So with that, it looks like I had 150 people join Precinct 7. And I had, from last year, I think you can see they were both at 3049, because I believe I did give you this apportionment one.
Right, sure.
Okay, they were both at 3049. So as you can see, we're at 3191 and 3033. So it was just too much of a gain when I was doing the math. It totally came into 19. It wasn't like 18.5. It was 1904 when I was doing the math for that. 1903 and 18.09 for Precinct 8, so which would move the figures.
Right. I mean, the numbers don't lie. They are what they are. There's no gray area in that. Could I just get the name of that state report? I know I'll look at it, but would,
Oh, it's through my voter registration information system, so it's what we run the census off of. It's that
Okay.
state system. I don't think it's something that that you can access, but you certainly you can certainly pick that up at the window, no problem.
Thank you.
Ready for a motion?
We all good? Okay. David?
And which precinct are the prisoners in?
5.
Oh, yeah.
And just to chime in on the whole prison thing, we have talked from time to time at this board, usually at this time of year, about should we count the prisoners or should we not count the prisoners? And the last time we had a real discussion about that, we decided the time to address that was really after the next state census, to decide how we wanted to handle that going forward.
Right, the 20,
Because
the
otherwise
federal, the
we
2020.
screw up
Right.
the
But in
boundaries and
fairness
things
to
like
the
that.
prisoners, you're also counting the babies.
Yes.
That's, so, you know,
The other thing is, I think with all the development we're gonna have in the downtown district and out on Route 1, it wouldn't surprise me to see
You'll see.
districts continue to shift year by year, at least for the
Exactly.
next 5 years, so.
right, and Route 1 as well, right,
Yep.
as the villages are going in, right, exactly. So this, I think you're gonna see a lot of, it seems to like it seemed to stay the same for quite a few years. And just when I put them in, I was surprised, because I didn't think of any big development in 7 and 8, why one would move and the other not, but it happened.
I'm good, thanks.
I'll make a motion to support the recommendation of the town clerk to change precinct 7 by increasing RTM by 1 member and changing precinct 8 by decreasing RTM by 1 member.
I'll second that, sorry to jump the gun.
Oh, God, it's exciting, and I can understand your enthusiasm. Any more conversation before Mark jumps in again? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 500. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you,
Thank
Liz,
you.
as
Thank you.
always. We will move to open forum. Is there anybody here for open forum? Don't be bashful. Okay, with that, we're gonna go to new business, and there's a number of motions related to the Knights of Columbus, which we will vote on separately. However, I will ask one blanket statement that should cover, is all the paperwork in, and are the police and fire and everybody else
Yep.
associated with this fine with these motions?
Everything is fine.
Great.
Everything is good.
I'll make a motion to approve the 1-day all alcohol beverage license for Knights of Columbus for February 16th, 2018.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day all alcohol beverage license for Knights of Columbus for February 18th, 2018.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day all alcohol beverage license for the Knights of Columbus for February 23rd, 2018.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day all alcohol beverage license for Knights of Columbus for March 2nd.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the one-day all alcohol beverage license for Knights of Columbus for March 17th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
500. Jim, do you want to give us a little background on the motion to approve the amendment to the contract for solid waste and recycling services with Russell?
Sure, just an update on that one. Back in the beginning of December, the town was approached by Russell. It was explained to us the market in China, the recycling market specifically, has basically been closed off. We are not the only town in this particular situation. Belmont, Chelsea, towns across the state are dealing with this. Russell asked us to renegotiate the recycling portion of the contract. We received advice from council. We met in executive session to discuss this matter. And after going through all that, we have a contract here before you that we're asking for you to ratify in public session, which would, instead of having our recycling fees at 0 per ton, we're gonna have basically a ceiling of, what's it, 55.11 per ton. We've been advised by council that this is basically a force majeure, and we're really backed into a corner with this one. We could choose to fight it, but it would take time, and our recycling may not be picked up. So after weighing out all the options, here we are, the amendment before you tonight.
And I heard our selectman, Mr. Salvatore, did yeoman's work to get this thing through.
He did.
So
Saved the
thank you
town a
very much,
considerable
David.
amount of money, so.
Good job. I have one question, or if you could make the statement. How is this change going to affect the homeowner that is putting their trash on the curb?
It is not going to.
There is no change?
No.
So everyone can keep doing what they're doing?
If we didn't make this change to the contract, there would be changes. but
Then our
there's no
services
change.
could have been impacted. But so as of right now, everyone's trash day is the same, everyone's recycling bins are the same, and so there's nothing for anyone to worry about?
No.
Okay.
Just had a quick question on number
Please.
4, just to educate me. So it's, apart from the switch from dual stream collection of recyclables to single stream collection of recyclables, does that mean that we should continue to separate our paper from everything else, or we don't need to bother with that
There's no
anymore?
longer a need to do that. Some residents want to continue doing that just because that's what they're comfortable with, but there's no longer a need to do that.
Okay, so that would be the only substantive change. It's more of an, if you like to switch to just throwing everything
No
into
need to
one thing.
separate them out.
But we still are recycling?
Yes.
Okay.
You can put your recycling out however you want in recycling bins.
Is there gonna be, other than this board meeting, will there be something going out to the residents to inform them that they can choose to, at this point, now going forward, they can choose to just
I
throw all
believe
their recycling
that
into
Robin
one?
was working with the recycling committee to come up with some type of publication to put in as part of the tax bills.
Yeah,
next time they go
let's
up.
make sure that we inform more than even once if we can, get something on the website. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking people might, again, some people just
Right.
choose to continue to go along as they are, but some people might say, you know what, if the town's paying more money.
At
for
some
everything
point,
in-
if the market changes, we're gonna be looking for people to separate again. So I don't know that we wanna tell anybody to stop
That's
separating.
not what I'm saying. I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
no, I just say.
we
If they have the
discussed
option.
it, if there's
Right.
coverage of it. The one question I would have is anything different today than it was yesterday? And if it's invisible to the resident, then we should say you should expect the exact same service you have today.
Right.
And I don't think we should send out extra paper telling people.
But I
Fair
think,
point.
but I think it's important, but again, because it is part of the new contract, I think the residents have a right to know that they do have the option. I
Right.
mean, it is for the next 3 years anyways.
Yeah, we'll leave it up to Robin. Good, okay.
I will make a motion to approve the amendment to contract 2017-14 for solid waste and recycling services with Russell Disposal, Inc.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to approve the request to hold the annual 5K road race on Saturday, March 10th, 2018, at 10 a.m. from HESCO.
I'll second that.
Everything's in order? Everybody okay? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
500.
I'll make a motion to authorize the town administrator to sign the Mass Works contract with McMahon Associates for the Coney Street Mass Works Improvement Project.
I'll second that.
Any discussion necessary?
Oh, just a brief update on that one. This is to assist in the design and oversight of that project with, for the Siemens project there, the 2.5 that we received from the state. We haven't received that money. I won't expend any funds until we have received that money. But we've worked with McMahon to get them to basically be our project manager on that. And again, the town is not paying any funds out of our pockets. It's all coming from the state and from Siemens, and I've made that very clear to the folks at the state and at Siemens.
And you're comfortable with where we are with
I am.
this?
McMahon has an experience dealing with the town. Maggie's comfortable with them. And we're ready to go forward when we get the grant.
Well, we have a motion, a second. Any more discussion?
Just a couple of questions. Sure. So, this is, the total grant is 2.5 million, is that?
Yes, it is.
And the remaining approximately $2 million will be sufficient to cover the cost of the work that's going to be done, or?
If it isn't, as part of Schedule C in the TIF, Siemens has to kick in, I think it's $350,000 to cover the cost of the design. And we prioritized all the items 1 through 5 on the Schedule C, and items 1 through 3 must get done. I don't expect, just seeing it, what this is coming in at, items 4 and 5, and I forget what those two items are, but they likely will not get done.
So the 350,000 only kicks in if, at the point of it exceeding 2.5 million, is that?
Yeah, we'll probably go back and I'll ask Jody to recategorize the account numbers in that and take the money that Siemens gives us, have it covered towards McMahon and Associates, and then credit the grant.
Is there expectation that the whole roadway is going to be torn up, or just additional lanes with widening? Or?
Want to help me on that, Maggie? Sorry, David.
At this point in time, we're not sure, because we haven't got any design plans. They haven't even gone out to survey, but there will be traffic signals and lane reconfiguration. So it is anticipated in at least certain spots. No land takings are anticipated nor planned for, so it's all going to be done within the existing roadway layout. But there could be, whether it's a whole-scale widening, it's going to depend on how much of the road is impacted. We wouldn't leave, we don't want the roadway doing that, but at the same time, if we don't have to change everything, we're not going to.
And the impact will be on the Siemens side.
We don't know yet. Part of it'll all depend on which side has existing sidewalk, where the right-of-way is, and also which side the utility poles are on, where we have to move. We don't want to move those if we don't have to, but that is one of the things they'll be looking at.
I'd like to. Hi. I'd like to circle back to my original concern about the traffic signals. This is on pages 2 and 3. It's talking about the traffic studies to determine the need for the existing, for the timing of the existing traffic signals, or is this going to automatically install traffic signals at these 2 other intersections, Rustic Street, the secondary driveway?
I believe there's a traffic signal planned, because the traffic study that was done by the folks hired by Siemens, there'll be a traffic signal installation at Rustic Road. There's not one planned for the secondary entrance at Joseph Lane. I believe it's just road lane reconfiguration.
So there is definitely an additional traffic signal
Yes.
planned
Yes.
for that
At their
location?
main driveway at Rustic Road, yes.
Who has the traffic study results?
I, okay.
Okay. Because, again, my concern was, if it's needed, that's great, but if it's just something that we do because it's just a matter of course, I don't think that we should just do a de facto traffic signal
I believe
right in the
McMahon
middle
agreed that
of
it was
people.
warranted.
I'm sorry?
No, I believe McMahon, when they reviewed the traffic, the analysis that Siemens folks did, it was, quote, warranted. It did meet the warrant, so that it was needed. The other one, they weren't planning to put one in necessarily, no.
So in the study will show, is it needed to let Siemens traffic in and out? Or is it for the benefit of the Siemens employees, or is it for the benefit of people traveling along the road?
I'd say both, because Siemens is anticipating a large scale, and Jim may know better than I do how many additional folks over the years they will anticipate. But it'll be the instance of them trying to get in and out, blocking also traffic on Coney Street itself. So it's to let traffic flow smoothly on Coney Street, but also to allow the people to enter and exit the site, and also right across the street from Rustic Road, which is a one-way at certain times of the day.
Okay, Jim, you'll get me the.
No problem.
Thank you.
Great, real good. We had a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you for
Maggie.
staying. I will turn over the consent agenda items to my colleague, Mr. Salvatore.
These items will be voted as one motion. Motion to approve these items are the following items. Gift acceptance from Hollingsworth and Vos to the fire account in the amount of $1,000. A gift acceptance from Hollingsworth and Vos to the police public safety account in the amount of $1,000. A request from the Junior Women's League, Junior, backwards, to place an A-frame at the Common for a medium event on February 23rd, and also a request to place an A-frame by the Norwood Evening Gardening Club to announce Art in Bloom on April 7th and 8th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0-0. Jim?
Sure. Just a couple of items here. Gentleman sitting out in the audience here, he is going to be serving as the new Community Planning Development Director. His name is Tim Higgins. He will be starting on Monday, and I'd like just to ask him to come up, introduce himself to the board. So,
Great.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, welcome, Tim.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
I think you met some of us.
I think I've met most of you, actually, at some point or
And,
another.
we're thrilled to have you. You have huge responsibilities, and I hope you can prioritize, because we're gonna be throwing a lot at you. But why don't you begin with just a little background of who you are and why you're so excited to join our town?
Where to start? Been doing this a long time. I was a senior planner in Belmont, and I was the project manager for the redevelopment of the McLean Hospital. That was my last public sector job, and I was there for 5 years. Enjoyed it thoroughly. Prior to that, I was in your neighboring community of Foxborough. I was the project manager for the new Foxborough Stadium, which has brought both benefits and costs to the different communities, but really enjoyed that. And then I had 2 young men who wanted to go to college, so then I realized that I had to pick the pace up a little bit, and then I went to the private sector and worked there for the past 12 years. In fact, did a very large project right here in your downtown, and had the pleasure of getting to know and meet many of your staff people, as well as this board, planning board, zoning board, which frankly is really the reason I'm here. I was impressed with the staff that I met. I was impressed with the boards. If I wasn't, I would not have applied for this position. So, excuse me, I'm actually very excited to be here. I look forward to the challenges and working with the department heads and working with you folks especially, because I'm going to be looking to you to give me guidance as what you want for policies. And I look at it as you tell me what you'd like, and then I work with my fellow department heads and the town administrator to implement. And I think we have a lot of work to do, and I'm really looking forward to the challenge.
I'll start. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I am certainly pleased that you'll be looking for policies from us, and I think we'll probably come up with some ideas going forward. But I think even right off the bat, crafting a policy to make the process for commercial developers and businesses coming into Walpole, from the smallest of a one-chair salon person that wants to have a little hair styling business out of her house, all the way up to the biggest business owners, to make a streamlined process for them and make it easy for businesses large and even especially small to come into Walpole easily and want to start a business here.
Having been on both sides of the fence now, I think I can be very helpful in that. I'm not familiar enough with the zoning bylaw to offer any recommendations this evening, but I agree with you totally, especially having spent so much time in the private sector. When you can go into a community and feel welcomed and put forward a good product and go through the permitting in an efficient manner, and everyone comes out in the end more beneficial, both community and the developer. So I agree with exactly what you want to do.
Thank you.
I'd just say I enjoyed meeting you in the interview cycle. I think you're a good fit for the town of Walpole, and I like that you had both public sector and private experience. So I think you'll be able to jump right in and get running right away. Thanks.
I look forward to the challenge.
David?
Go first.
Just having been on the interview process with Mark, I completely agree with what he just said, so it was the exact same thing I was going to say.
I especially like the part where you indicate that you recodified and rewrote the Foxborough zoning laws and subdivision regulations. One of the concerns that I've had over the last several years is that there have been various interested groups that have come in piecemeal and grabbing different sections of the law and trying to make changes without looking at the whole body of the ordinances and bylaws, and some concern that, you know, we need to be looking at this on the global scale and not just having individuals coming in a fall town meeting and changing different sections without the understanding the effect on the whole scheme. And I hope that we can keep that in mind, is that you need a town-wide scheme and not just these changes that might benefit a certain neighborhood or a certain section, but and look at how that would affect the entire town. I look forward to having further discussions on those issues.
Terrific. Welcome.
Look forward to working with you all.
And you start Monday?
I start Monday.
Get to
Fabulous.
work. Get to work.
I'm already working right now, listening to what you folks would like me to do.
Welcome aboard.
Truly my
Thank you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Jim?
Sure, just a few other items. Fields Workshop, Patrick's going to be hosting a Fields Workshop, tentatively planned for February 14th. He did remind me that that's Valentine's Day and might get moved. With the various presidents and vice presidents of Walpole Youth Leagues. Once we have the date firmed down, I'd like to invite all of you to attend if you're interested. If not, maybe a few of you can attend. Finance Committee started meeting last night. Paul Stas is the new chairman, no vice chairman at this time. I think we're going to work on that for the next meeting. They're going to start meeting on Monday and Thursday nights, so more than welcome to attend on that one, starting at 7 o'clock. And downtown parking, as you all know, meeting with some MBTA officials at their request to discuss something related to the rail line. And I said, before I agree to any meeting, I want to make sure that we're discussing the Foxborough line and we're discussing the parking downtown. So that's on the agenda to be discussed Friday morning. I know the state reps, they were invited. Senator Feeney was invited. We'll host it here at Town Hall. If more than 2 of you can attend, we'll post it as a meeting. If not, I know, Ann, you said you can make it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you say you can make it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if just one more can attend, we'll post it as a
Well, we
meeting.
posted.
Just post it anyway.
Okay.
Just post it just to be safe, okay?
Right.
Sure, and they've told me that they are gonna have David Moeller come, who's a big fan of Walpole anyways, so should be an interesting meeting. And that's it.
Maybe
When
should
do we have Siemens coming in?
They are tentatively planned, the second meeting in February. Joanna from Phil Mackey's office explained that.
Thank you, Jim. Keep up the great work.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of January 9th, 2018.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstain? 401. And, oh, wow. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you for joining.